All right, let's go to Mike in Green Bay. Hey, Mike, what's up, man?
Hey, Dr. Delony. Thanks for taking my call here.
You got, man. What's up?
My in-laws are into online conspiracy theories, and my wife had a...
Hey, I just lost you. Come back one more time. Your in-laws are...
into online conspiracy theories?
Yes! Okay, tell me about it. I love those.
It's kind of everything. It's the election, it's vaccines, it's monetary system, child sex trafficking, kind of everything all in one. My wife had a boundary conversation with them that went very poorly.
Okay.
And we kind of patched it up a little bit, but it's extremely awkward talking to them. My wife is struggling because she doesn't know who to talk to without making her parents sound crazy. And, we're trying to figure out how to move forward with the relationship.
How did the boundary conversation go? Like, I don't want y'all to talk about this stuff anymore with me. I'm tired of hearing it. Like, how did it go?
Yeah. They'd started emailing stuff out to us and extended family.
Yes.
And usually what they emailed wasn't terrible, but the problem was the next video claimed that everybody who's vaccinated is going to die, and they sent it to people who were vaccinated.
Hey, here's the thing that's true about that. Everyone who got vaccinated will eventually die. That's super true. I don't know what your problem is, Mike, but listen, everybody who got a vaccine is one day going to be dead.
I think it was a 2 years claim in there. That was the problem.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. All right.
So it was basically, we don't want you to talk to us about this. We don't find these sources credible. If you want to send something, it's got to be credible, and don't talk to our kids, or we're not going to, this will be a deal breaker.
Yep.
And so they took it as an attack on their beliefs, which it, I guess, kind of was.
Yeah.
Plus, I think just freaked out about essentially saying, you're not going to see your grandkids if you don't stop.
And so it went awkward. They said, you're attacking our beliefs. And so you guys put up a boundary, and then they crashed into it. And then what happened to that boundary? Did y'all say, okay, you can email us? Or did they say, okay, we'll quit?
I'd say it went way more than awkward. It went horrible, but they have respected the boundary.
Okay.
It's just now it's extremely awkward to interact with them because you really can't share much of your life because of the beliefs are kind of intertwined in everything. So you can't talk about what's happening without a risk of knocking into that.
Oh, so you can't talk about like what's going on in the world. Like, I guess you can't talk about health or politics or medicine or anything because y'all are at such odds.
Yes.
Okay. And so how can I help?
I guess we're trying to figure out, do we just keep moving forward? I mean, it's kind of like there's an elephant in the room. Do we need to address it, or do we move forward? Plus, any advice on how my wife can get help? Because she really feels like she doesn't have anybody to talk to, because her parents are good people.
Of course.
And she doesn't want to bash them in front of friends.
Yeah. So that doesn't help anybody. Okay, so let me back out a little bit. There was a remarkable article a while ago. We'll link to it in the show notes from Peter Attia. He's one of the most brilliant minds on planet Earth, the guy who I have a lot of respect for. He wrote, he's a statistician and a medical doctor, a longevity guy, but he wrote an awesome article on conspiracy theories. And he had a couple of things in there that gave me some more empathy than I've ever had. And so he talked about, these are a lot of big words, but talks about some of the biases and fallacies that attract people to conspiracy theories, like selection bias and confirmation bias, in-group bias and false cause, and black or white fallacies, and appeals to emotion, bandwagon, ambiguity, all the stuff, right? Burden of proof, right? All that kind of stuff. But then he goes on to say that often conspiracy theories may be wired into us for survival purposes. And so here's where he goes with that. Let's pretend 10,000 years ago, we're walking in the jungle and a splash occurs next to us. More than likely, that was a branch falling from a tree. It was a rock. It was filled with any number of things. But if we didn't jump and run, that small chance that was an alligator, we're dead. It's over. And so there's a part of us that may be hardwired to see any sort of as this could kill me. right? Any sort of glitch in the matrix, any sort of big splash, a loud noise, we are better off running and hiding and pointing because that keeps us alive. It makes us insane, but it keeps us alive, right? So he says that it's far more likely that it's nothing but the price to pay for being wrong can change our actions, even if the statistics are in our favor, right? So at the end of the day, I think there's two things about the conspiracy. And I'll tell you, it's a sport for me. I think they're hilarious and awesome. But here's the thing. I don't believe them, but they are super fun for me. I do have several friends that aren't all in. They are 1,000% in the most hilarious ways. I got coworkers here who dude, it is the most fun to have conversations. I feel like I'm on another planet. It's amazing. And here's what I think it's about. Number one, I think it's about control. It is really hard for us to step back and swallow the fact that a volcano may erupt and just kill us all. It may be really hard for us to swallow the fact that, man, somebody on the other side of the world ate something and it spun up a virus, or even scarier, that there was a lab working on something and it accidentally got on a couple of guys and they just went to the store and then the whole world shut down. That is so terrifying because that proves to us we don't control anything. And so the only thing we can do is double down on, oh, no, this is a giant plot by people who know what they're doing to kill us all. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I can't live in a world where Lee Harvey Oswald, just some oddball, climbed up in the top of a library and shot the president. I can't live in a world where a guy's that good of a marksman, I have to live in a world where there's this massive, huge conspiracy that covered all that up. Because if that can happen, the world we are spinning on is on a razor's edge at all times, right? This happened at the Capitol, and on the January 6th thing when those guys tried to take over the Capitol. Now, I don't want to get into politics of all that, but what blew my mind was I always had this idea, and I don't know what it looked like, but that if you ever just tried to storm the U.S. Capitol, there was like lasers built into the ground that just zapped everybody. I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't know you could do that, right? I didn't know a group of people could just run across the lawn and climb the walls of the Capitol. I just thought that like Navy SEALs would fall out of the clouds right? And so either I have to believe one of two things. Oh, crap, that can happen. Like a group of people can just get on the White House lawn and charge. Or that it was this big thing and that there was, all these things were shut down and we had to. Does that make sense? So living in a conspiracy world is actually a safer world sometimes because it adds order to a potentially really chaotic existence. And here's the second thing that is also on top of that, is that when we don't sleep, and we stay glued to these screens and we are anxious, anxiety makes us meaning-making machines. It spins us up and we get obsessed with trying to connect dots, almost like a beautiful mind. So we get to these feelings that we're having, our body's alarms that are set off. And man, we have all been so exhausted and frustrated and angry and scared over the last year. And it's just given me some real compassion for folks. And dude, I've got them in my life. I got family members. I got coworkers. I know exactly what you're dealing with. So here's the good news and the bad news. I'll give you the bad news first. You guys laid down a boundary and it's up to y'all to hold it. And the promise of boundaries is that it keeps y'all safe. It does not mean it keeps you comfortable. It doesn't mean that it keeps you friction free. And that's hard, right?
Yep.
The other side of the good news is y'all laid a boundary down and I'm proud of you guys. What I think would be bold and brave if they would do it, and this is the rare person that can do this, would be if you and or your wife circled back and said, hey, there's a tension now. We just said we don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. And now I feel like we can't talk about anything. And I don't want to lose y'all's relationship. And at the same time, these things are hard for us to swallow. How's the last month for y'all been? And listen to them and let them speak it out loud. Does that make sense? Not everybody can do that, I know. A lot of times when boundaries get put up, people smash their heads up against them. They get angry, they get mad, they kick and scream. And all of a sudden they think, oh gosh, someone precious who I love is on the other side of that boundary and I'm not going to lose that. I may be crazy, but I've seen that in my own family. I've seen that in my own personal relationships. That may be too soon for you guys. And you guys have to make peace with it. It may just not happen. It may not happen.
Yeah.
I am interested in this. When you guys said, hey, we're not going to have you talk to our kids about this crap. We're not going to talk about this stuff. What did they say? You don't love your children? How dare you? Like, what was their response?
No, they actually, they agreed to that. They respected it. They didn't argue about that too much.
So where's the awkwardness coming from? Is it now coming from you guys? Y'all laid down the law and you won? And now you guys don't know what to talk about?
Yes.
So are there things you want to talk to them about?
Well, I mean, the struggle is we have public-facing jobs where you have to take COVID serious, so we can't talk about that. You can't talk about much work. You pretty much you're down to talking about the weather. And it's just like, what...
Do y'all interact with them a lot?
Yeah, we used to daily. I mean, they live quite a ways away,
Okay.
but we used to talk to them daily. It's less frequent now, and we used to have a very close relationship with them. And I think that's probably the loss there is hard.
Yes, I agree with that. So here's two things I'm going to throw out there. Man, you may roll your eyes and say this is so cheesy. You can use me as the scapegoat. Just say, dude, we've got some knucklehead, and he made this recommendation. I'd love it if y'all would do this with us. They get to pick a book, and y'all get to pick a book. And just say, hey, we want to read this together. Y'all pick, and we'll pick. Y'all are obviously wise and smart. You raised a really smart and beautiful, wonderful daughter. And we want to start like a little family nerd book club. That may be so cheesy, and they may roll their eyes. They may be all in. And it becomes a place for y'all to discuss things. And it can be fiction. It doesn't have to be about anything dramatic. The other thing is, man, we had some of the funniest, most hilarious time not talking about stuff with my parents, especially during COVID when we couldn't visit and they couldn't visit, was playing games on Zoom. They were a riot. Playing charades on Zoom, playing card games. Man, it turned into some of the most fun. Even setting up, I imagine you guys could set up 2 checkerboards with the kids, whatever that looks like. But see if y'all can begin to do things together. Maybe go visit with them and go fishing, spend some money that y'all probably hadn't planned on spending. Go do some things like that y'all can get together. I think that would be really remarkable. And instead of focusing on talking about stuff, issues, man, try to get back into relational stuff. Play games, read stuff together, watch a movie with your wife and they can watch it and y'all can talk about it. Find common ground that is not about those things. It's going to be harder because you have these default things. Politics, religion, weather, repeat. And now you have a chance to expand that portfolio of things y'all talk about, broaden this relationship, heal it a little bit, and then y'all get to decide, do you want to keep your boundaries? They get to decide if they want to keep your boundaries. I'm proud of y'all and I'm proud of them. Sounds like everybody said, whoa, relationship's the most important thing here. And now the ball's in y'all's court to come up with some new, deeper ways to connect with one another. Right? So thank you so much for that call, Mike. I know that's hard, dude. I know that's hard. And I know families all over the country are dealing with that. Get creative and preserve those relationships wherever possible.